regular meeting of the Board of Education to order. So before we begin the meeting, I would like to acknowledge the traditional territory of the Tsawwassen and Musqueam First Nations and of all the Hunkaminam speaking people who have been stewards of this land since time immemorial. I would also like to offer my respect to all the elders who have gone before us and to all Canadians who are on the journey of reconciliation. I would also like to introduce each of the trustees, and when I mention your name, maybe you could unmute yourself and say hi. So Trustee Daniel Boisvert, Vice Chair.
Good evening, everyone.
Erica Beard, Trustee Erica Beard.
Hi, everyone.
Trustee Laura Dixon.
Hello.
Trustee Jesse Dosanjh. I think he's there. Trustee Nick Kanakis.
Good evening.
Trustee Bruce Reed, who's having computer issues here. And he will get on here as soon as he can. I know he will. So we do have quorum. We have representatives from our education partners who are chiming into the meeting as they possibly can. And I would like to introduce the following. Susan Yao, President of Delta Teachers Association. Susan, I'm not sure if you've chimed in yet, perhaps not yet. Dawn Frederickson, President of QB 1091. Hi, Dawn. Kim Barnes, Chief Shop Steward. Almost sounds like a cooking show, Chop Steward. Joanne Gill, who's third Vice President of CUPE. And Beatrice Dempsey, who's Recording Secretary. From DPAC, we have Lakvir Barar, who is the President. She often joins in by telephone. And from the Delta Principals and Vice Principals, Taj Reel, who's Principal of South Park Elementary. So welcome to all of you to our meeting. Okay. Could I please have a motion from trustees to adopt the agenda as circulated? Trustee Dosanjh, seconded Trustee Boisvert. All those in favor of the agenda as circulated, opposed, the motion is carried. Okay, we'll go into receiving delegations, briefs, and presentations. And I'll turn this over to first one, Employee Wellness Strategy, Judy Miranda, who's our Director of Employee Services. So Judy, over to you.
Thank you and good evening. Almost a year ago, we were fortunate to hire Nicole Braid into the role of District Principal of Recruitment, Retention, and Wellness. She's been a tremendous asset to our HR team with her focused attention on hiring and retention. She has also been leading the work in employee wellness, and tonight she's going to share with you where we are at with the wellness strategy for Delta schools. It's my pleasure to introduce Nicole Braid.
Thank you, Judy. It's hard to believe it's been almost a year. In some ways, it feels like a long time, but in a lot of ways, it feels like no time. So thank you, everybody. I'm excited today to talk to you today about employee wellness and the employee health and wellness strategy. A little bit about wellness before I share my screen. The one thing that I have noticed about wellness since I took this job is that it's everywhere. Everywhere you go, you can see wellness in your food. You can see wellness in your physical, you can see emotional wellness. And even for Christmas this year, what I received was immune personal wellness mist. And so it's everywhere. If I could just spray this around the district right now, it would be really make my life, and I'm sure a lot of other people's, a lot better. But what I've noticed is that wellness is really big. And so what we just want to talk about before I share my screen and get started is really, what is wellness, right? Well, wellness is a really complex system. It's your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, and your social health. It's essentially how we feel about ourselves and our lives. And so with just that really big notion of that's what wellness is, it's well-being is another word that we use for it. Just keep that in mind. It's how we feel about ourselves and our lives. So I'm going to share my screen and start the presentation. So I'm just going to have to move this over here so I can see. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Mhm.
Hope so. All right. Well, welcome to Wellness. So what I want to talk about right now is really just about where we're going to head with our wellness strategy and where we've been over the last year. Starting last year, we really took a look at what is it that we need to pay attention to? Why is this something that we really need is important and we need to pay attention to it? Well, there's a couple things we already know. We know that if educators are really well and they're feeling great, it's a really good predictor of kids doing well in school. We know that if teachers are feeling great and educators and EAs are all feeling good, that they have really good relationships with kids. And we know on the other side that it's detrimental to our students. Well, we know that it's important because it's firmly established in our vision and in our strategic plan. The well-being and mental health flourish being in our vision is for the entire district, including our employees. And when nurturing our workforce so that our employees thrive to reach their highest potential is part of our district plan. We really do want engaged, empowered, and a healthy workforce. So this past spring, we reignited this employee wellness committee that has representatives from all of our employee groups on it. And from there, we decided to take a look at, well, what does that mean? If we have a highly engaged, empowered, and healthy workforce, what does that look like? What are the things that we need to pay attention to in order to get there? So what we decided to do was talk to people. So what we started with was staff wellness conversations last spring. So what we did is we talked to all of our we invited some exempt staff to come and talk to us. We invited principals and vice principals, support staff and teachers. And we had sessions with each one of these employee groups. And we asked them really just one question. And it was, when you were at your very best at work, what was happening for you? And what were the conditions that contributed you to being at your very best at work? And it was a wonderful time to listen to all of the stories that come out from all of the times that people have shared when they were at their best and how it felt when they were at their very best. Because I think if we all think back to when you've been at your very best, you can't help but be happy and smile about it. So just a quick overview of some of those conversations and some of the things that started to come up and bubble up in those conversations is we talked to our EAs and our child and youth care workers, and respect, learning from others, relationships, connections, having resources, teamwork, and that sort of self-care and that physical exercise, that taking care of yourself and being well personally came out. With our teachers, having a supportive leadership and collaboration and connection was a really big one for teachers, having resources and feeling prepared in order to do the work you want to do. Teachers, coffee, laughter, humor came up quite a bit in terms of what it was that helped them be at their very best. Our principals and vice principals, connection and collaboration were at the top of the list. Having balance in your work life and your school life, doing work that matters and that's exciting to you, and being connected and that feeling of collegiality within our group. Our exempt staff, again, that feeling well yourself and being personally well, having supportive leadership, having a full roster of staff to be able to do the work that we need to do, being a part of a team, right? All of these things that came about. We did it with our employee wellness committee. It was the things that came up most of the time across groups: being valued, being part of a team, belonging and feeling like you're being taken care of, feeling like you're making a difference, work that matters, having a purpose, having a goal, having a vision. And so these are the things that seem to kind of keep bubbling up. So we went away from those conversations really excited and interested to see, well, where can we find alignment across all employee groups so that we can really nail down sort of a strategy and a direction to go. So what we found was there's 3 really big themes that came out of these groups. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what did they say, what some of the quotes of what people said was, I can't see my own screen now. Here we go. I had the time to exercise and feel healthy. Oh, come on. When my personal life is going well, I have more energy to devote to work. I felt happy, relaxed, and that I could unplug work. And when I'm having a great day, others can feel it and it rubs off on them. So what was really important and what contributed to people being at their best? Work-life balance, having that balance, having mental and physical health, being really healthy, and again, having access to being able to do really great self-care. Sorry, I just can't see my own screen. So it was the importance of being a healthy individual. So that was one of the big pieces that came across was being healthy yourself, being a healthy individual, taking care of yourself. That's one of the really big themes that came across all employee groups. Again, what people said was, I know when I'm faced with a challenge, I have people there to support me. I am personally recognized and valued for the work that I do. We take care and support one another on good days and not so good days. And I feel like I belong and I collaborate and I laugh with my team. What's important? Being welcomed into a purposeful and collaborative workplace. What was the main themes that came out? Positive professional relationships came out loud and clear across groups. Having clear vision, purpose, and connection through the district and at school sites, at any site across the district. And having strong distributed leadership, having strong connection to leadership, came across loud and clear. It's essentially having a healthy work community. It's what we do at our sites. It's where we are. And again, some more things that came up was that I felt that I have my skills match the job that I'm doing. I have the resources and the support to do a good job. The right tools and technology are available to me, and I'm doing work that matters and excites me. So what helps people be at their best? Having the resources and the support to give the best to their job. What came out loud and clear? The support that people get from their district departments. That was huge. The skills and the training and the resources that are afforded to them. And the support of community and partner groups, unions, and associations. That is also very big. So it's our district support. It's our system that supports us. So those are the 3 main things that came out across all employee groups. And those are the real pieces that kind of led us into a direction so that we have a bit of a model to follow as we go along. So as we follow this model, the relationship between being well yourself and being able to go into a healthy work community and having a system that supports both, we believe that that's where we're going to find our thriving, engaged, and empowered employees. So once we took all of these conversations and all of this thinking back to the Employee Wellness Committee, we decided we needed to come up with a vision and a mission for this model so that we knew that the work we were doing was going to be directly related to this model. So our vision for employee wellness in Delta is improving the health and quality of life of employees by creating an environment where every employee's well-being and mental health flourish. Our mission, well, we know that we're at our best when our bodies and minds are healthy and our workspaces are respectful and supportive. We all take responsibility to co-create and expand healthy, thriving work communities. So from there, we said, okay, so we have this vision, we have this mission, we have this model, now what? So from there, we've been able to start in on just a few things as we've gone along. The importance of the self piece, being able to take care of yourself and being well yourself. So we've established an employee wellness website, which is just a place to find support, resources, and ways to make some healthy living habits. So here's just a quick look at the website itself. It's just got the home. It talks about where we are. It has a tab for mental and physical health resources, things like Fraser Health COVID-19 updates, the First Nations Health Authority, Pacific Blue Cross, and then just tips for finding balance in your life, tips for work-life balance and such. It also has a direct link to our employee family assistance program, LifeWorks. And LifeWorks has a real proactive approach. It has counseling for any members who might need it, but it also is starting to have a real focus on personal well-being and the proactive and preventative things we can do for ourselves to keep ourselves resilient and healthy. So that's where we've started there with that website. The other piece that has been started is establishing our peer support coordinators to support our teachers in their practice. Now they do, our peer support coordinators are working with one-on-one intensely with some teachers, but they've kind of expanded their program a little bit to really be preventative and proactive. They're establishing a great connection with teachers across the district. For example, this past last week when there was no kids in session, the first thing they did was offer 2 drop-in sessions for teachers to come to. And the topic was reconnecting with your kids after a break. And so it's a really preventative way to help teachers ease back into a classroom when they may have been feeling a little bit anxious about getting back in there and reconnecting with their kids. There's research coming out that I've read just recently. It's not surprising that peer support seems to be one of the #1 things that can help wellness, especially in the education sector. We've begun, I've got 2 elementary schools now and at least 1 secondary school agreed to start establishing staff wellness goals with me. So we're going to start slow and just sort of talk about what's available in terms of supports, but then we're going to dig in a little bit further and see if we can start to establish some staff wellness goals individually for each site. As each site is different, every building's different, every staff is different, every staff wellness goals might be just a little different. So we'll try to personalize some goals for staffs to reach toward. And then this fall, and then just last week, we've been hosting some district-wide and school-specific sessions outlining the LifeWorks program, the preventative wellness programs that come with that EFAP and LifeWorks program. So looking to the future, and just this month, what we're hoping to do next is, what we are going to do next is have an employee mental health and wellness survey sent out to the entire district to help us with some additional direction and focus. What are we doing well already in this regard? I know that our district has incredible people in it who are already doing fantastic work and being able to hit all of these pieces, but where can we improve? Where are some of the initiatives that we can add to our strategy? What is it that we can maybe replicate in some other places, or some new initiatives that we can start up? Is there any appetite for various things that we haven't thought of before? So part of what I've been doing is spending time with the K-12 Wellbeing Community of Practice, which is a bunch of BC educators who are just committed to staff wellbeing. And we've been sharing and talking about some of the things that we've been doing in each of our districts and trying to learn from one another. And then Friends at the Well at Work through EdCan. I've been connecting with them quite a bit to try and pick their brain too, as they're diving deep into this work as well. So that's sort of the conclusion of what we've been up to so far, and that is the strategy as we know it right now. I look forward to coming back and telling you all about the extra stuff that we've done, more stuff that we've gotten dived into. So I appreciate you listening to me today. Thank you very much. I'll stop sharing now.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Trustees, do you have any comments or questions for Nicole? Nick? Trustee Kanakis, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay, Chair Windsor. In my experience working as a trustee representative to the British Columbia Public Schools Employers Association, I've attended maybe 2 or 3 different workshops, and the thrust was employee wellness and how important it is to the staff and how important it is to the district. So when we're talking about employee wellness, we're talking about our teachers, we're talking about our CUPE workers, we're talking about our vice principals and principals and our senior staff at the board level. And it's really important that we have a mental, physical, emotional, and health policy that improves staff wellness, because what it really does is it transfers the next step down the line, which is to the classroom, which is why we're all here. And so if we have a staff that's healthy and feeling good about themselves, they transmit that to everyone they come in contact with, and the general school population is improved. So Nicole, thank you very much for the work you're doing in that area. And I realize how important it is that we have staff wellness foremost in our minds.
Trustee Dixon. Thank you, Trustee Kanakis.
Thank you, Chair Windsor. Very excited to see this presentation tonight. I had hoped for this position and this work to be occurring in the district for some time, and so pleased to see it really getting deeply underway. And, it's true that, we have the BCPC function, but I think it's important that aside from those formal functions, that Delta is doing the grassroots work that we're seeing here tonight for ourselves. It's employee wellness is about the right thing to do for human beings, looking after ourselves and looking after one another. And I think what I'm seeing in your analysis of the input you've received so far is the importance of so many things that are already happening. And that is, the grassroots school leadership that we see with many of the mechanisms we've been able to put in place, the kinds of tools that help teachers believe that collectively they have efficacy about their practice, and that they can make change, and that they can make a difference in how things go in their classrooms and in their schools and for the district. Often our educators are community leaders, and they especially in these difficult times more than ever are giving people some confidence in how we can support one another. So I'm more than pleased to continue to support this work, because I think it is so critical that everybody, educators and support staff in our district and our leadership, have these opportunities for these important discussions. So we're so well underway in this work, but I can't wait to see what's next. So thank you so much for spending the time with us tonight.
Other comments, trustees? No, well, I would like to thank you as well, Nicole. I'm so excited to see where we're going with this program and to see the positive results that are going to happen on all employees. And I know your first slide mentioned teachers, and I know that you also intend CUPE support workers as well in that wellness, because we need the whole system to be well, absolutely. And especially with our EAs who are working with our students so as directly as they do. I was just a question. I know you're going to do this mental health and wellness survey. Do you think your results might be a little bit skewed because of COVID, and I should stop there? And just a question, I'm wondering.
I'm not sure. We're looking for some baseline in terms of engagement for employees, and so I'm hoping that it won't be. I hadn't sent it out this week on purpose, so we're hoping that we're trying to pick the right time, but we don't want to wait too long either.
No. Well, I mean, there's no place to go but up when all things considered.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and giving this presentation, and we look forward to you coming back again and letting us know what's happening.
Thank you again.
Take care. All right, I will turn the next part of this meeting over to our Director of Learning Services, Joanna Angelidis, on your bailiwick.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So thank you very much. Okay, so I am Joanna Angelidis, Director of Learning Services, Inclusive Learning, and presenting with me this evening is District Principal Richard Karinchik, who has done some absolutely amazing work on today's topic that we'll be speaking about, which is interagency and alternate education programs in Delta, and in particular, the Take a Hike, Changes, and BGAP programs. And before Richard dives in and starts sharing specifics about those programs, I'm going to situate those programs within our greater district and provincial context. So we are a district with a Vision 2030, and as you'll hear shortly from Richard, the programs very much reflect our mission and our vision, and certainly our goals for the programs and where we're headed in the next few years are informed by this mission and this vision. So we're looking for future-ready learners who are thriving and continuing our work, being an innovative and inclusive community where all learners belong and everyone soars. We are also a district with a strategic plan with these guiding principles: diversity, equity, core competencies, Indigenous worldviews and knowledge, universal and inclusive practices and approaches, and well-being and connectedness. And again, you'll see those reflected in what Richard's going to share with us this evening. We have our district goals, as you can see here on this slide, that also inform the work of these programs and again, our future direction. We also have a district framework, the Student Engagement, Empowerment, and Prevention Framework that we have had in place for 3 years now. It includes these 5 domains that you see on the screen here. This framework was developed collaboratively and is actioned collaboratively with the Delta School District, the Delta Police Department, the Ministry of Child and Family Development, and community service providers such as YoBro, YoGirl, Youth Initiative. And all of these organizations are very much a part of the work that we do within these interagency alternate education programs. We have ministry guidance as well that informs the work that we do in these programs. There's the Ministry of Education Mental Health in School Strategy, which was launched in the fall of 2020. And you see the vision of that strategy here. The Mental Health in School Strategy comes out of a 2018 Pathway to Hope framework that was set out for the entire province of British Columbia, and goals of mental health and well-being. Certainly some of what Nicole shared this evening is connected to that as well. And within that framework, the Pathway to Hope, there's a strong role for education and attendance to youth and child well-being as well. And that's in the Mental Health in School Strategy with these 4 elements here of intervention, prevention, mental health promotion, and compassionate systems leadership. And then no conversation about well-being would be complete with a comment on COVID. The ministry released this absolutely incredible resource connected to the Mental Health in School Strategy. This was released in the fall or late summer of 2021. It is connected to the Mental Health in School Strategy. It has a component in it around well-being in COVID, but is certainly applicable well beyond COVID. Not sure that even sounds broadly. It is applicable broadly with these key principles that you see on the slide here. And certainly, as you'll hear from Richard shortly, those principles guide the work within those alternate education and interagency programs. And these principles here are embedded and have been for quite some time in the work, the structure, and the learning experiences within those programs. In particular, I'm just going to share a bit about stigma-free. Our goal with the programs is to participate in actioning a culture, a world where we are stigma-free when it comes to mental health and physical health and well-being. So through description of the programs, and you're going to hear about the experiences of one particular student, you will hear some things associated with mental health challenges and physical health challenges. And certainly they are no different than the challenges that any one of us faces as humans, including those of us here in this Zoom meeting. And so there we go. Commitment to stigma-free through authentic sharing of what's happening in our programs. So Richard, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Joanna, and thank you everyone for allowing me to share some time with you today and talking about some of the programs that are nearest and dearest to my heart. These three interagency programs support some of our most vulnerable students in the district, and you'll hear me talk about ACEs in the next few minutes. And these students, without this really integrated and wraparound approach, would be at such risk of not being able to graduate, not being able to thrive from a mental health perspective, or just a wellness altogether. So it really is a connection back to our vision around wellness and thriving students that these programs exist within. So there are three programs. The first is Take a Hike, and Take a Hike can hold about 15 to 17 students, and it's located on the Delview property in a portable there in the north end. And embedded within the program, we have a CYCW as well as a psychologist on site. So a lot of support right within the building for those 15 or so students. Right now, temporarily at DMEC, we have capacity for 15 to 17 students in our Changes program. So as many of you are aware, we have been searching for a North End property to sort of become our permanent home for this program. And for a variety of reasons, including COVID, which we've heard a number of times already today, we have not been able to find the property that is best suited for this program as of yet. The hunt continues, but coming to the start of this year, we made the difficult decision to move students to the DMEC property. And we've supported that specifically with transportation for those students. And we've been pleasantly surprised at how that has actually gone. And we've definitely seen some benefits to having our students there. First and foremost is they're nice and close to me, which means I get to go down and pop in every once in a while and connect with them. But we also have the fact that they are out of their community means that sometimes they're away from distractions within their community. And then we've also noticed the benefit of having our Changes and BGAP teachers so close together, in that they're able to collaborate in a much more authentic and genuine way. And both of them, I think, are growing as professionals because of that. And we're working towards having the students actually start more of that collaboration and integration with each other as well. And the Changes program is supported by a few CYCWs as well as a district counselor. And last but certainly not least is BGAP, which stands for the Boys and Girls Alternate Program, which also can hold up to 15 to 17 students and is temporarily at DMEC at the moment. And prior to DMEC, it was housed in one of the Boys and Girls Club building in the South End in Ladner. And when we first went into COVID and had the shutdowns and weren't able to have students in attendance, stemming from that, as we started to get into a position where we could have the in-person learning continue, we realized that there were challenges and were likely to be continuing challenges in operating in a building that wasn't ours, from simple stuff like just the cleaning protocols to even when they were opening or allowing our students to be there. So we made the decision that to bring them home into the district, into a building where we could make sure that the students and staff were safe and could have sort of oversight of the different protocols and the way that their learning would look. So that program is also supported by a CYCW as well as a district counselor. Now, the interagency programs, I mean, what makes them particularly special, and while all of our programs have partnerships with community, the interagency programs really make that a focal point of their work and their collaboration. And so we have multiple partners. This is not an exhaustive list, but this is a number of community partners that we work quite closely with. In some cases, it's on an individual basis. Other cases, it may be for the entire program, and in some cases for the entire district. So there's a lot of collaboration that happens between the teachers of those programs and those community partners that we have listed there. And without their support and without the work that we do jointly, we wouldn't be able to provide that wraparound approach to those students and the areas of specialty that exist within each of those community partners. So we're very happy to do so. For those of you, just to make sure that everyone is aware, the CYMH is the Child Youth Mental Health. The ADTP is Adolescent Day Treatment Program. And for the life of me, I can't remember what START actually stands for, but it is a place where we collaborate with those students who are struggling with suicidal ideation. So they support our students directly and offer consultation to our counselors who may be involved in a suicide risk assessment. So, I've talked about the well-being, the physical, mental, social, emotional, the ACEs I mentioned, the adverse childhood experiences, and the research is very clear that for students who have experienced ACEs as part of their upbringing, have impact on their learning, on their way of being, that not only impact them during their school years, but well beyond into their life. And so it's the type of interventions that we're able to have available that mitigate a lot of these ACEs. And all of that is done with a trauma-informed lens to make sure that we are working with each and every student, being mindful of the story that they bring with them, as we each do. Each of the programs has a real sort of I don't want to say focus, but they create their own unique way of reaching the academic success, the personal growth, and the transitions to adult life. So Take a Hike uses the outdoors as a vehicle to approach those three types of learning. And that takes place in all different places in the Lower Mainland, including weekly out trips and biannual overnight trips. It's about learning science while you're on a hike. It's about sitting around a campfire and sharing stories and talking with each other. Our Changes program, the teacher in that program has a lot of experience with art therapy. So she uses art to help students express themselves in multiple ways. And if you walk into her classroom, you see all sorts of neat projects that they're doing as well. And then our BGAP, he sort of lies in the middle. So they do many out trips as well, but also do what might be considered some more traditional type work within the classroom. So there's choice available within the three interagencies as the teachers that support them and the team bring their own personalities to the classroom and to the work that they're doing. What I wanted to do, the stories that within these three programs are where we find some of the most incredible stories, the courage to come back type stories, the stories of resilience and success, that come out of it. And we wanted to share one with you today, if you'll allow us to. This is one of our Take a Hike students who has spent the last 3 years with Take a Hike. And he shared this story with us, and we have permission to share it with all of you today. And while I'm reading his account of his story, we'll flip through some pictures that include all 3 of the programs, just so you sort of get a sense. And of course, we have permission from our students to share those pictures with you as well. So this is Dee's story. Before Take a Hike, my life was unstructured. I wasn't going to school, and I was arguing with my mom a lot. I was doing things that maybe a kid shouldn't be doing, and life was just unhealthy. I wasn't in the best state mentally or physically. Eventually, I learned about Take a Hike through a friend of a friend. They told my mom about the program, and since it had worked so well for them, my mom signed me up. We met with Kayla, the youth and family worker, and some of the teachers, and it went really well. And I felt comfortable coming to Take a Hike for my grade 10 year. Coming into the program, I still felt like it was just school, but as I started to warm up to it, it felt better being in the program. In the beginning, I definitely struggled with being shy and being a bit uncomfortable. The first year for me at Take a Hike was a bit nerve-wracking because I'm shy and I didn't really have friends and didn't consider the kids in the Take a Hike program as being my crowd. I still wasn't coming to school very often and disappeared for a while, but then I would actually come back. I started to enjoy coming to school. Before coming to Take a Hike, I would complete maybe a third of the year and then just not come back. At mainstream school, I never had any friends and I wouldn't want to go. Because I didn't go, I would get behind on my work and it would pile up and any motivation to go would be gone. When I joined Take a Hike, I started to make friends and I actually wanted to come to class. I started to keep up with my work and I felt good about school and just kept going. My second year at Take a Hike was even better. I became less shy and began making friends and getting along with other kids in the program. I started to really get to know myself and my comfort level began to grow. Now in my third year, I have no anxiety at all, except the odd time when I have to get my schoolwork done. I'm still a bit shy when it comes to pursuing friendships, but if someone were to come to me with the goal of being my friend, I wouldn't shy away from them and be way more open to building a friendship than I ever was before. I have so many great memories from the last couple of years at Take a Hike. One that stands out to me is last year when we went to Evans Lake near the end of the year. It was a one-day trip and we set up a campfire and sat around the fire playing a game where everyone closed their eyes and someone walked around the group to tap another on the back to show appreciation. It was great to see everyone go around the circle and share who they were grateful for and who they appreciated. It was a nice feeling to be able to share and get to know each other. There was another time that we were on an out trip, and at one point I looked up and all the adults were standing together and the fire was lighting up their faces and they were all smiling. And I looked around the campfire and everyone else was smiling too. That moment sticks out to me because it made me happy and I realized I was smiling too. I had brought my blanket and I was snuggled up by the fire and I was just happy. I knew I belonged. In the beginning, I saw the trips as just field trips. And when we go and do things outdoors, I just thought it sucked. But as we started to do these trips more, I started to get more comfortable and actually enjoyed the trips. While I still don't like the physical part of the trips, I really like getting outdoors because I don't get to do that much on my own. It pushed me to get out more, and I've really grown to love it. Before Take a Hike, I would have never gone out, but now I seek out the outdoors. It's a bigger presence in my life. I've learned a lot about myself over my time at Take a Hike. I'm a pretty self-aware person, and I've been like this for a while. I like to take things apart and find out new things about myself. Through my time at Take a Hike, I've realized I'm not as shy as I once thought I was. I just needed the right people around me, and Take a Hike provides that. I'm discovering new things about myself. For example, I used to act on instinct, and now I stop and think about the consequences of my actions, and I check in with myself more. Last year, I started doing breathing exercises with our clinical counselor, Greg, and I found that this has helped me connect with myself and manage my anxiety. We learned about the window of tolerance, and I'm able to understand my tolerance level and know how to handle situations better without getting mad. I'm a lot calmer, and situations go a lot different for me now than they would have before Take a Hike. As I get ready to graduate from Take a Hike, I'm excited to get ready for my future. I want to continue being in the outdoors and exploring part of the world through nature. I'm thinking about going into either post-secondary or the trades for plumbing. I've also developed an appreciation for my community. I would like to volunteer more and give back to my community. My mom and I used to go to the food bank when I was younger. Excuse me. And it would be great to be able to give back to my community, knowing what it's like to be on the other end. To be honest, before coming to Take a Hike, I wouldn't have even had this plan. Excuse me. I wouldn't have bothered to think about the future. Take a Hike has done a lot for me. So I know that was a bit of a long story, but it so eloquently touches all the points that Joanna and I have talked about. And I want to assure you that there were other opportunities that we could have shared with all of you that would do just the same.
Hey, thank you, Richard, and thank you to Dee for sharing that story with us. So important to hear. And in closing, sharing with you the key points on this slide. What's next for us? What are our priorities, our goals for the program? Strengthening learning environments, improving physical and mental well-being, enhancing transitions to adult life, and deepening those connections between the students and the community and the programs and various service providers in the community. And all of that aligned with our vision 2030 and our mission 2030. So thank you very much for the opportunity for Richard and I to share. So.
Thank you so much, Joanna and Richard. I'll turn this over to trustees who may have some comments or questions. Anything, folks? Trustee Dixon.
Thank you, Chair Windsor. Just such deep appreciation for Joanna and Richard in leading the teams, but some incredibly compassionate educators and honestly our community partners. I had the good fortune of sitting at the CYC table, and a lot of times different elements of these programs come up. It is incredibly complex work and incredibly valuable work. And I think our district really shines in this area in ensuring that every child has every opportunity through any stage or program to reach their full potential, and that challenges do happen in kids' lives and that we'll be there for them. And I'm just so appreciative from having the two of you here tonight, but the whole team that stands behind you that's making this work, because our kids who are vulnerable, the adverse childhood experiences factors, one or two may not be a big issue for a child, but some kids just don't get the same opportunities to have those protective factors and that resilience in life. And we're doing all we can to make sure that that's not their life story, that we turn it around and give them the power to reach that full potential. So it's very touching work. And I'm just so pleased the two of you came here to bring it to us tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Trustee Dixon. Other comments? Well, I would like to thank you as well. Thank you, Richard, for spelling out what the acronyms mean. We live in such a world of acronyms that there were 2 or 3 times that I thought, I wonder what that means, and you'd automatically say it. So I am grateful to hear what it actually stands for. And Dee's story, it's touched my heart, knowing that there are other students who are being touched in similar ways. And sorry, I had to wipe a tear from my eye. This is the best part of the meeting so far. What can I say? It's the one where you hear success stories about kids, and that's what it's all about, making a difference in kids' lives. So thank you for all that you do, you and everyone else involved in the inclusive learning department and throughout our whole system, actually.
I know that we're not doing trustee visits in the short term here, but if we are in a place, do know that Joanna and I would love to take you into some of the programs and share the work that they're doing. So always welcome.
When we're able to do that, I'll be there in a heartbeat, as I will. I'm sure others will too. So thank you for the invitation as well. Oh, okay. Now moving along to the less exciting stuff in the meeting. Back to the business part of the meeting then. Trustees, could I have a mover and seconder of the minutes of December 7th? Trustee Reed, Trustee Kanakis, any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Are there any Board of Education report? Does anyone have anything to report out since our December the 7th meeting? Well, I did attend the inclusive learning meeting on December the 8th, and it was all about building school-based capacity and ownership of inclusive and universal practice related processes is sort of the ongoing theme of what's happening in inclusive learning. Violence in the workplace was something that was specifically focused on because it is an issue for EAs specifically and teachers as well. There is a need for consistency throughout the district, but with COVID, of course, there has been a gap in the training, and I know the district is going to do everything they can to try and fill that gap by providing the training. There was a reference to WorkSafe BC resources on this issue. And Christy Abel gave an update on her sexual health worth, which is an interesting title because it doesn't necessarily only refer to sexual health. So I think we're suggesting maybe a little name change that might more clearly define what it actually refers to. Yes, some sexual health, but a lot of other things with regards to relationship building and that sort of thing. The pilots that Christy has done have been going well, so we're looking forward to where that's going to take us in the future. As Superintendent Shepherd and I have attended more meetings than you could possibly shake a stick at with regards to board chairs, Minister of Education, superintendents, and these have all to do with school startups and what can we do to keep schools open. So I have shared the contents of those meetings with trustees. Okay, and that's about it for now. I had an ELL consortium meeting scheduled for tomorrow, but it's been canceled or postponed. We're seeking a new date. It's just too soon after coming back to have that meeting. Okay, Trustee Dixon.
Thank you, Chairperson Windsor, and thank you both to you and Doug. And there's many people here in our education partner teams that have been part of many of those meetings as well. So I don't want to use the word it's been a smooth startup, but we have started up and I'm excited that we are, and I'm crossing my fingers that we go forward for the best. I just wanted to report an incredibly successful presentation at the December 10th CYC by Diane Jubenville and Heidi Wood from our Indigenous Education Department. And one of the things that we went into, or that Heidi Wood brought to us, was some updates on the protocols around acknowledgement of territory. And I don't want to be the one to bring it to you. What I would really recommend is that we as a board have this presentation as one of our delegations to a board meeting. It's really gratifying to see all of the child youth serving agencies in Delta that are members of CYC work so hard to develop this important relationship building piece throughout Delta. And I think it would be excellent for all of us to hear it. So that was a very fruitful meeting. And boy, they spent like a long time practicing and networking through it and supporting one another in how to do this well. So it was a special meeting, and I'd like to see a little bit of it come our way.
Thank you so much. Any other information from trustees? No? Okay. Well, before we get down to what is going to be the last thing on our agenda, I'd like to remind folks that we're going to start with questions, and we get to the question period. We're going to start with questions from our education partners and media who are participating via Zoom conference call. We will then move on to questions that have been submitted electronically. So this is your reminder. If you're watching the live stream on YouTube and would like to ask a question on items on the agenda, please make sure you send it to us before the question period begins at questions@deltasd.bc.ca. And there is a short time delay between when we speak and when it's broadcast on live stream. By the time you see and hear me saying these words, I will already have moved on to the final agenda item. So please don't delay in emailing us your questions to ensure that we receive it prior to the start of the question period. Many thanks. Okay, so the last thing on our agenda is our Secretary Treasurer on the budget development process. So Secretary Treasurer Nicola Christ.
Thank you, Chair Windsor. Just wanted to give you a brief overview of the budget cycle because in January, usually, our finance team is working busily on preparing the preliminary budget. That's underway at the moment. And in the second half of January, budget meetings will be seriously getting underway once again, this time for the financial year of 2022-23. Who knew we could be this far along already? And you may remember from our December 7th meeting, if you attended there, that we made a couple of changes to some of our financial policies, the accumulated surplus policy and the budget monitoring and reporting policies. And that was in order to align these policies with some changes that are coming to the budget process this year. We will be changing to a budget process that includes not just one budget year, but 3 budget years. And we will be enhancing our public engagement process. And if that has any impact on the dates in our budget calendar, we will be reporting that to you in the very near future. Right now, we don't have any new dates yet. But in any event, as we're getting going with this budget cycle, our trustees, you all will be getting together, of course, and we will be reevaluating budget trust priorities that the budget committee will be using in order to build the budget with for the coming year. And then a few dates that are important. On February 22nd will be our first consultation date with the public, where people usually bring their feedback to the meeting. I'll give you more information, as I just mentioned, if that process changes in any way, so that you're aware in a timely manner. And the budget guiding, the budget committee will then be using what it has heard in terms of feedback and also what the budget priorities are from trustees in order to incorporate that into the budget process. Then by March 15th, we will be hearing the funding announcement from the Ministry of Education. And up until that date, we don't really know what the budget will look like because we won't know exactly what the funding will look like. And at that point, we will find out some more on how that will impact us. And we will be reporting this back to the budget committee and also to a public meeting after spring break. Spring break this year is from March 14 to March 25th. And on April the 14th, we will be finally releasing the budget to the public to be evaluated there again. And then we'll be providing another consultation date on April the 19th, as it stands at the moment, where the public can provide, and all our stakeholders, of course, can provide their feedback to the budget committee and to our trustees on the budget process. And finally, on April 26th will be when currently the budget is scheduled to be approved. And this is basically what we have right now in terms of the calendar. I thought you might like to know a little bit about that. And I think you'll find that in the dates given also in the budget package. So you can see that online if you want to prepare yourself for being at the various meetings. And that's what I have for you today. And there'll be more coming at our next meeting.
Thank you so much. Trustees, comments, questions? No? Okay. Well, we have no new business. So now we're into the question period. So I'm going to ask our Director of Communications, Catherine Tucker, if we have any questions from our education partners or the media.
No questions, Chair
No
Windsor.
questions. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, the date, time and place of our next meeting is on February 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Could I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Trustee Boisvert, seconded Trustee Reed. All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you so much for attending tonight's meeting. Take care. Stay safe, everybody. Good night.